desperately He wants us. The things of earth stand next to Him, like a candle to the sun. Unfailing Father, what compares to His great love? Behold His holy Son, the Lion and the Lamb given to us. The Word became a man, that my soul should know its Savior. Forsaken for the sake of all mankind, salvation is in His blood. Jesus Messiah, the righteous died for love. It wasn't over, for He is the risen one. Then sings my soul, then sings my soul, how great Your love is, how great Your love is. Then sings my soul, then sings my soul, then sings my soul, how great Your love is, how great Your love is. Then sings my soul. I have a friend, the Spirit breathing holy fire within, my ever-present help, speaking truth when I can't find it. Light up this broken heart and light my way, till my time on earth is done. Oh, Holy Spirit, live in me, Thy kingdom come. Oh, Holy Spirit, let Your work in me be done. Then sings my soul, then sings my soul, how great Your love is, how great Your love is. Then sings my soul, then sings my soul, how great Your love is, how great Your love is. Then sings my soul, then sings my soul, then Behold, the Lord our God will lead us home.
Morning. So he said my name a couple times. I'm Grayson. Nice to see all y'all this morning. It's kind of hard to see with the lights, but I can see some of you. I just want to make a really quick announcement. There we go. If you have a communication card that looks like this on your seat, and if you're new or if you're a guest today, then I encourage you to fill this out. You can visit some of our hospitality team who are going to be giving you a gift on your way out this evening, or this morning, whatever time it is. So if you just make sure you fill that out, you can put your email, phone number, any way that we can just get in contact with you, not so that we can bug you and pester you, but so that we can reach out and pray and hopefully find a way for you to join our family here. So fill that out, turn that in. And I know some of you this morning might be a little confused. I am not Pastor Josh. Like Wes said, he is off in Pittsburgh this morning. If I was, I know I'm like a couple inches taller, clean shaven, better looking, of course. Thank you. Someone laughed at least. So I know around Welcome, I'm still a new face. I've been here for about, I don't know, 3 years maybe. We sort of came as a college student as I was at SWU, but then this is really the first year I've been working at Welcome, so I've been bugging Wes and Josh a little bit more, like on a daily basis now, so that's a good thing. But I'm probably known as the tall guy at Welcome, but then I found out that Chuck Hinthorn is also very tall, so he's also known as the tall guy. So if you want to just describe me as the tall, good-looking guy, and we'll know the difference. So at least he can laugh, because he knows he's better than I. But, so yes, I'm Grayson. I'm 22 years old. I live across the parking lot. We have to walk a long way to work in the morning. If you step on dog poop in our front yard, that's because of Chaco, our black lab. Let's see, what else do you want to know about me? Probably nothing. But I graduated from SWU in May, and then I got married in June to my lovely wife, Laurie, whose mom was with her today. And we were the first wedding to happen at the new amphitheater they built, and still, I think, the only wedding to happen there. So we're obviously special for some reason. So, now it's New Year's Eve, married New Year's Eve, whatever you want to say. It's New Year's Eve today, and tomorrow is 2018. And like Wes was saying earlier, oh my goodness, I have no idea how it came so quick. One of the most frustrating things about the years is that, you know, like, let's say tomorrow's 2018 and it's going to take me until about June until I start like writing 2018 on all of my paperwork or checks or whatever I'm filling out. And then I have 6 months to get it right, and then I screw it up for the next 6 months. But there's something else that all of us do at the new year, and it's something called New Year's resolutions. Now, some of you may hate it, some of you may love it. I don't know many people who are on the fence about it. It seems like you kind of lean either way. And I understand why people love it. Like, this is obviously a great time of year to start over. There's something, January 1st begs you almost to start over, to start fresh, or start something new, maybe that you've never done before. And why not try it? Why not, you know, some people, you may stay at Christmas like, oh goodness, I ate a little bit too much of Mama's fudge. So then, yes, okay, maybe the new year means I'm going to be a little bit healthier. Maybe the new year means I'm going to read more or something like that. And then there's the people who hate New Year's resolutions, and I also understand that. You know, it never seems like they work out, am I right? Like, it always seems like we fail at our New Year's resolutions. It comes February, and I'm eating Mama's fudge again, or whatever, or I'm not reading as much, or whatever the New Year's resolution is. So I finally got back to an iPhone life. So I downloaded Twitter, and I found a couple of tweets that I want to share with you guys. So I pulled a page out of Pastor Wes's book, because that's all he does, is he just reads tweets on Sunday morning. So Gabe Ortiz says, January is new me, or new year, new me. He has like avocados and healthy emojis, and then it says March, pizza, 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 pizza. So I would just start with the free pizza. But Simon Lennon says, I'd love to say new year, new me, but I'm only 2 stamps away from a free meal on my KFC loyalty card. So it'd be silly to ruin that now. But, so no one really likes KFC, I don't think. Jacob Whiteside says, my New Year's resolution is to figure out how to squeeze a 4th and 5th meal into my day. And I am all on board with this. I am still a growing boy, so at least that's what my mom tells me, so I'm going to eat as many meals as possible. Let's see this next one. Petra Hitchens says, my New Year's resolution is simply to remember to write 2017 instead of 2016. So obviously this was last year, but man, it is something we all struggle with. Let's see, Kumali Nanjani. My My New Year's resolution is that donuts have no calories. I don't think that's how it works, but, you know, if that's truth, then Krispy Kreme would have a whole lot more business. Megan Kelly Dunn says, my New Year's resolution is to be more assertive, if that's okay with you guys. Like, I don't want to step on your toes or anything. So, let's see. Val A says, my New Year's resolution is to exercise more. Finally a realistic one. But in parentheses it says, exercise my right to eat more tacos. So, we found a taco stand down in Walhalla. That is absolutely awesome. But we'll talk about it later. Hallie Helmer says, my New Year's resolution is pet more dogs in 2016 than I did in 2015. So, I don't know. That's kind of weird. Next one, I think this is the last one we have here, is from Sean Booth. He says, my New Year's resolution is to try and put less than 4 chapsticks in the washer and dryer. And I don't know how he even did that, because it seems like, has anyone like ever actually finished a whole tube of chapstick? Really? Are you serious? I have never in my life done it. I always lose it, or it melts in my car for some reason because it's South Carolina and it'll get up to 60 degrees in January for some reason, or something happens, but I think they should start like making the half-size chapsticks. So, that's my $1 million idea. Don't go and steal that for any reason. So that's one thing that always happens around this time of the year. But I think, as Miss Cheryl can tell you, there's a lot of other things that happen, and one of the most annoying things is getting sick. It seems like always around this time of the year, we're just inside more, we're getting close and like in close quarters with everyone because no one wants to be out in the frigid cold of 45 degrees or whatever it is. So we all just end up getting sick. And I pride myself in not getting sick that much. In fact, my grandfather was known for like never having to take medicine or aspirin or anything like that because he was just healthy as a horse. So I want to live that same legacy, but my wife. My wife is not prone to getting sick more than any other normal human being, but she did get sick already this year. And when I first saw her start coughing, I was like, oh, I'm just going to back away, and then I'll go sleep on the couch, or maybe you can go sleep on the couch, right? Like you can let me sleep in the bed since you're sick and whatnot. And then, of course, she reminded me the in sickness and in health thing I said at the marriage ceremony that I so conveniently forgot at that time. But ended up getting sick. And I'm still actually a little sick. You might be able to hear it in my sinuses a little bit, but basically it was just like a really dry cough. There was like, my sinuses were just like, it just felt like there was a brick up in my head and I couldn't get rid of it. So of course, being a man, I'm going to be stubborn. I am not going to go see a doctor. I'm not going to take medicine because I'm just going to tough this out. That's what men do, and that's the only way that you can battle sickness. And then it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So Laura brought me out to the CVS, and instead, you know, I had to hold on to my man card a little bit. I said, I am not going to go see a doctor. I am going to stick with my medicine. I know what I need, and I'm going to be just fine without a doctor's help. So, you know, I go down to Mucinex D or whatever it is and get the one that, you know, looks more manly than all the other ones because I have to keep my main card for some reason. So I go down there, I get it, and then so I take the medicine, and it's literally just making me drain, and it's all nasty and gunky, and I really love talking about this because it usually makes people feel really awkward, especially my wife. But it's just draining, and it's nastiness, and then, like, of course, you get the red nose from blowing your nose so much. So all of this kind of connects, and I know that's like too weird to like, how the heck does New Year's resolutions and sicknesses connect together? How the heck are you even thinking about preaching about this morning? Well, I have a little hook here. It says this: really, I think the problem with me when I was sick was that I'm only trying to fix the symptoms instead of trying to fix the sickness. And I think our New Year's resolutions are something along the lines. We are always trying to fix our symptoms instead of trying to fix our sickness. Now with me, when I'm sick, yeah, I'm just trying to fix I just want the gunk out of my head, I want to have a soothed throat, so I'll take some cough drops. But if I had gone to a doctor and gotten the right medicine to get rid of the virus or bacteria, whatever it is that's living in me, it would have gotten rid of all the symptoms at the same time. I think sometimes we do that with our New Year's resolutions and with our goals that we're setting as well. Instead of fixing the sickness or the problem that's really at the crux of it, we're trying to fix the small symptoms. We're trying to, you know, eat right, get more people in the church, have fun, whatever it is. But I think the Bible has something to say about this. There is no book of Moses. There is no, like, here's your New Year's resolutions for 2018. It'd be really easy if it said that. But we dug a little bit more, and I found something that I think is going to stick with us this morning. So if you can, please turn to 2 Corinthians 5:9. It's going to be up on the screen here for us. It says, so we make it our goal to please him, whether we are at home in the body or away from it. Short, sweet, to the point. So we make it our goal to please him, whether we are at home in the body or away from it. So as I've already said a couple of times so far, I am not Josh. I am not the person who comes up here and speaks weekly. If you come here often, you'll learn that Josh is very, I'm going to use the word that I went to school to learn, exegetical. He is very much sitting in his office or at a coffee shop studying the Word, studying it in Greek, studying commentaries on the Scripture and all this other fun stuff. I am not as good as he is, but I think there are still some things that I can pull out of this. And the first comes from this very first part. It says, so we make it our goal. Make is a verb, meaning that we have to actually do something. You have to consciously put effort towards making a goal. You can't just sit down, at lunch today and then poof, your 2018 resolutions show up in front of you. You have to put effort into making them, but not only do you have to put effort into making them, you have to put effort into actually making them happen too. The only way you're ever going to know if you succeed at your goal is if you have it written out or if you know exactly what your goal is. So please make your goal. But then it tells us pretty plainly, we make it our goal to please him. Him is not your pastor, your friend, or your Josh. Or your Josh, whatever. To please him is God. We make it our goal to please God. And of course that makes sense. I mean, I think anyone who's in here who professes to be a Christian would say, I don't think anyone would say God's number 2 on my priority list, like any professing Christian in here. So, why do I keep talking about this? Why do I keep beating a dead horse if I think there's something that we need to be doing here? Well, the good Christian in the world concerns themselves with winning over souls, right? With bringing people to Christ. Because if we really do believe in a heaven and a hell, we want to save people from hell. So the good Christian is going to concern themselves with bringing people to Christ. The good Christian is going to be concerned with growing the church. We want to be a growing, diverse church in Seneca and Walhalla communities. So I'd say that we're doing pretty good. The good Christian concerns himself with having good sounding worship. We don't just do this to sound bad on Sunday morning. We do it because we want to do the best we can, not only for your ears, but for God's ears. We also want to have the best revival in town. We want to have the things that are happening. This is what the good Christian concerns themselves with. And now you're going to hear something controversial from a pastor, because I don't think any of those things matter if your priority list isn't right. I think we set all of those things above pleasing God. Our first priority cannot be winning over souls. It cannot be serving the church. It cannot be to have the best worship, and it cannot be to have the best revival in town. But our first priority must always be pleasing to God. That doesn't mean that those things are bad in any way. In fact, if I was to say that winning over souls was a bad thing, I'd be a heretic. What I'm saying is that if we turn our focus away from the symptoms and look towards the supplier, then all of those symptoms are going to come. If we stop focusing on trying to bring people to Christ and we focus only on to please him, we will bring people to Christ. We will be doing all these other things, but our priorities are out of order. And then Oswald Chambers says it perfectly. He asks himself this question: is it my primary goal in life to please him and to be acceptable to him? Or is it something less, no matter how lofty it may sound? I don't know how many of us are struggling with the things in our lives that we put before God, even if it does sound lofty, even if it does sound important and big and meaningful. If it's not pleasing God, it shouldn't be in the first spot. In Exodus 20, chapter 3, it's talking about the 10 Commandments here. It says, "You shall have no other gods before me." Straightforward. We learned this in Sunday school. We know what this meant back in that time. It meant, like literally another God that you can worship. There will not be any of those before me. This is a monotheistic God. We believe in one God. We're not believing in all these other conglomerate of people. But it's easy to look at that verse and say that doesn't really apply to us today because, no one's not a Christian really in America, right? Well, maybe gods in your life can be work, health, even serving the church can be a God that you put before big G, God. Does that make sense? In Luke 12:34, it says, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Same sort of thing. If you're investing into different things in your life that is not God, that is where your heart is going to be. And I think we all want our heart to be with God. In Mark 8:36-37, it says, what good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forget their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? Matthew 22, this is Jesus talking about the greatest commandment. It says, Jesus replied, love the Lord with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your minds. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. So he sort of almost sets the priorities for us here. It's love God, love others. In Matthew 6, it says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Now that passage is talking about money, but I think it's equally appropriate for us to maybe replace money with work, with stuff, maybe. What are the other things that we are trying to serve? What is dividing our attention away from God? What is sort of catching our eyes to pull us slightly off degree that's not worshiping God? So, again, I think I beat a dead horse here. I'm going to say it one more time. So our primary goal as Christians must be to be pleasing to God. Not His church, not His children, not even His creation, but only to Him. Then all those other things work out. Now, if I was to end the message here and send y'all out, you'd be like, ooh, okay, so we know God is number one, right? We know that is where priority should be. Now, what about the rest of these New Year's resolutions I'm supposed to like? What's the order for that? And, again, like I said, there's no exact scripture thing here, but I think there is something we can learn here. And I'm going to say something more, or something else, that is probably just as radical, and something you won't hear a pastor say. Even though I just told you a bunch of times that God should be number one, I don't think God should be number one. The pastor just said that. But let me explain a little bit more. Can you throw up that ordered list up there? I think often we have, the Christian has the mindset of, number one is obviously God, right? God is at the top. God is the most important. God is going to make all things happen. Number two is going to be like family, friends, because that's the thing we're supposed to say. Number three might be career, or it might be health. It might be stuff, whatever it is, etc., etc. I don't think God wants to be put into a compartment in the number one spot, because in our minds when we say that, we sort of God's number one, so he can't really touch my number two, my family, my friends, right? I don't want him to, because it's nice and I can control that little bit of my life. God's number one, so he can't hop all the way down to number three and affect that in any way, can he? No, I don't want him to do that. That may be out of his way. No. I think God wants to be number one in all areas of our life. He wants to be number one in our relationships that we have with our family and friends. He wants to be number one in our career. He wants to be number one in our health and how we're treating our body. He wants to be number one in whatever you prioritize your list as. So I'm not the kind of pastor who talks about all these existential ideas that are hard to get at and really confusing. I'm also not the pastor who likes to hold you before lunch, because I know it might be a rush to get out the door here in a minute. But as I was reading the Bible this week, I sort of was able to summarize how you can prioritize the rest of your list into one sentence. And it's this: figure out what counts on the last day so you know what to count every day. Figure out what counts on the last day so you know what to count every day. Now, it's morbid. I know. We can just say that and put that out. That's the pink elephant in the room. Grace on the last day. Are you talking about last day of the week? Or are you talking about the actual, yes, the day that we are dying? If you are on your deathbed, if you need to close your eyes, fast forward to there, and you hear yourself saying, I wish I spent more time with my family. Then you just open your eyes, come back to the present, and make that a priority. Make that number one in your life. Spend more time with your family. If you shut your eyes and you go to the future and you hear yourself saying, man, I wish I took more vacation days from work. All you have to do is open up your eyes, come to the present, and say, I can take more vacation days. Maybe some of you close your eyes, go there and say, man, I wish I worked more. If that's the case, then okay, prioritize that in your life. Figure out what counts on the last day so you know what to count every day. And I don't think any of us would want the little things to get in the way of the big picture of our life. And sometimes, when it's so close to you and I just had this car accident, there's so much going wrong in my life right now, and you can't see past that car accident, you can't see past into the rest of your life. You're going to feel like this is the biggest crisis that you're ever going to face because it's right there in that moment. But if you take a moment to look past that and to look into your entire life and sum that all up into what you would think about on your deathbed, maybe that can help you prioritize your list a little bit more. So I'm assigning all of you homework. Okay, that might be the first time you've heard that in a while, or maybe, that's something you've been avoiding on the Christmas break, but I'm assigning homework. I know as soon as we get home, it is lunch first because, obviously. And then, of course, after lunch, it's going to be a nap because, obviously, right? And then especially today because, you're going to be staying up till, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, so get your naps in. But somewhere in there, sit down. Actually write out your list. There's something valuable and important about writing it down. Maybe not even putting it in your phone, but actually physically taking a pen to a paper. That's something so rare today. I'm just kidding. But doing that and trying to figure out what your priority list is going to be. Because when it comes time to make a decision in 2018, let's say you have a decision between putting food on the table for your family or buying a treadmill. Let's say this is something you think about. Then you can go to that list and you say, this is a really tough decision right now. But since your family might be prioritized higher than your health, that's going to help you make that decision. It's going to say, obviously my family's more important. Now, it may not be like that obvious. It might be, man, I really want to go watch this baseball game, but I could go home and spend time with my wife and my dog or whatever. On my list, I know that family is more important than entertainment, so I might spend that time to go be with them instead. Now again, I'm not saying that, treadmills and baseball or whatever is a bad thing. I'm just saying, look at your priority list and figure out how you can sort it. So it's easy, it's simple, you can put it up on the refrigerator, and then hopefully by February I'll step on your toes and remind you a little bit, hey, how's your priority list coming? But if you go home and you do this, I really do believe that God is going to have and do good things in your life. So I'm going to pray, and we're going to get out of here. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the fact that we've made it through 2017. And then on the threshold of our door is 2018. God, I looked at 2018 not with fear of the unknown, but I look there with excitement. I see the things that you have in store, and I see the things that we don't even know yet. But Lord, I know that you have a plan for all of us in here. I pray that as we are writing out our lists, that the Holy Spirit comes within us and that he speaks to us, so that we don't put anything out of order. But God, most importantly, I pray that you are in everything we are doing. You are in all areas of our lives. Lord, we love you. We worship you, and we want to know more about you. And all God's people said, Amen.